Hi, friends. Max Elhash here. This episode of the Corpus Animus podcast, I have this guy, Noah Ohlsen, on the podcast to talk about training, COVID training, the CrossFit Games, and his man bun. If you're on the go and you want to listen to just the audio version, subscribe to the Corpus Animus podcast on your favorite podcast app. Get better at the sport of CrossFit alongside some of the best athletes in the world in our online training program, The Design. Head over to our website, trainingthinktank.com/DSGN to learn more. We're live. What?
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.
What is that?
Some juice.
Oh, okay.
Not like...
Yeah, I know. We know.
That's going to be the headline.
Noah's on the Corpus Animus podcast drinking, taking juice.
If you must know, it's a little bit of Evertrain's new mixed berry post.
Damn it. Get off the podcast. You're already just promotional.
Yeah. Swipe up.
How's everything been, man?
Well, about as good as it can be with everything going on. Had a fun week up here. A few days, I would say. Yeah, man, it's been interesting.
Why are you here? That's a better question.
Right.
Listen, man.
The quote unquote CrossFit Games start in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks from now.
Why quote unquote?
It just feels so weird to call what we just did this week and what we're going to do in 2 weeks the CrossFit Games, because we're in the gym doing the workouts on our own, one by one. I don't want to illegitimize what we're doing because it's still tough work and it's cool and it's organized, but it just is not at all what we're used to.
Yeah. How much of the competitive atmosphere being head to head with other athletes is what you visualize when you think of competing in the sport versus something like the Open, where a lot of the Opens, I mean, you've come up and done some of them here with other people, but a lot of them you've done by yourself in an environment, but you've always had people that would do them with you.
I think for the most part, I've probably had to go solo a few times, but I definitely think that there's something different about going head to head with somebody. And one of the things that I always notice when I get up here for the first time in a while, that first workout where Travis and I are going head to head, I finish, or even in the middle of it, I'm reminded like, oh, this is what intensity is like.
Yeah.
And I haven't really felt that this week. Not that we haven't been training intensely and competing, but there just isn't that competitiveness where we're trying to beat each other out and it's neck and neck. And so it's a little bit less dramatic and intense and less pressure, I think.
Do you think it'll be less stressful then in the actual competition?
It might be. Yeah, it makes me a little less nervous that we're not going head to head. But at the same time, there's more riding on it than a usual training session. So that kind of adds another layer of stress and pressure. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll balance itself out. I didn't think I was going to be nervous at all for what we just did the last 3 days. You want to explain
what we just did?
Yeah.
Sure.
Should I describe it or should Noah?
Paper, rock, scissors for it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, he clipped my paper.
All right. So we organized a game simulation. Chandler's going to be here on site. So it's going to be Travis. Chandler Smith. Chandler.
Isn't that
is there
Travis's
other Chandlers?
Thing? Travis who? Chandler who?
Chandler who?
We're going to make some t-shirts.
Yeah. So Chandler Smith, Travis Mayer,
Chandler
Noah Ohlsen.
Bing.
Chandler
might
Bing?
actually be coming, I
Who's
heard.
Chandler Bing?
You know, from Friends.
Oh.
That'd be kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah. So all three of them are going to come up.
Isn't he like a drug addict now?
Don't know.
Damn it, guys.
Come on, man.
Let me
Stay on
finish
track. Noah, Chandler, Travis
are all coming up here. They're going to do the CrossFit Games. They got to do it one at a time. We just found out it's a 2-day event. That email actually came in today.
Yes.
We thought it was going to be a 2 or a 3-day event. So I created a 3-day simulation. We had Tanner Balaz.
You overworked us, man.
Yeah. Come in and step in for Chandler. So that way we could practice having a rotation of 3 different people going in. I created 3 workouts on 3 different days. We actually filmed those. Will those be up on YouTube by the time this publishes?
All but 2. One of them we did on Instagram Live. That was the row.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch a 5K row on YouTube.
Yeah, so we don't need to go into too much detail.
Yeah, they'll all be up there.
Specific workouts.
It'll be Travis versus Noah on all of them.
And all the workouts were constructed based on the equipment list that they gave us.
Which was relatively limited.
Yeah, it's not that many things.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of barbell variations when I created it. the running obviously is one thing, strict handstand push-up, having a strict handstand push-up or a handstand push-up wall. There's not that many options.
Yeah. It's either strict or kipping basically.
Yeah. So I created a subset of tests that I tried to get varied in terms of time domains and testing styles and loading parameters and use all the movements. And we just finished that up. You literally did a 500 meter max effort row into a 5K less than an hour ago. And
where's that womp womp button again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Although this would be Travis for that workout.
No, come on. He only beat me by, what did we say? 1 second on the 500 and 54 on the overall.
Small margin.
I wasn't too disappointed in that. Anyway, we
So
did
that's
just
what we
wrap
just
that
finished.
up. Yep.
This is your first time out of quarantine life.
It is. Yeah. It was my first time traveling, which was interesting. I flew up. I was feeling a little bit nervous about that. And I was gonna say rightfully so, but not necessarily. I got on the plane, I had my mask on, and I was expecting it to maybe be a little bit less full than it was. And it turns out that it was a packed flight, which made me a little nervous. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders in and closed my eyes until we landed.
Don't touch me.
Yeah. Thus far, knock on wood, no COVID symptoms.
Good. I like that.
Yeah. Just try to be safe, but introduced back into society, which has been great. Got to train not necessarily with other people this weekend, which was kind of a bummer, but close enough. Better than what I've been doing, which is training at home by myself in my driveway carport thing. Yeah. It was good. And it's funny, we just wrapped up 9 events.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting on a message that I had sent you, I think at the beginning of the week before I came up. And because I haven't had any gauge on my fitness, nobody to compare myself to really, I said to Max that I would like to leave this training week and have everybody up here that saw what we did say, man, Noah looks pretty fit right now. And I don't know if that will be the case, but I feel
I'm not going to say it out of spite.
Yeah. I have a good feeling that at least myself, I can say I feel pretty fit right now, which gives me a boost of confidence before the quote unquote CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
I'll stop
Which is in like 16 days or something.
Yeah. Is it September 2nd and it
Yeah.
starts on the 18th. So exactly 16 days away.
Yeah. So as you were talking about that and talking about quarantine life, what's training been like? Let's go back to like, I don't know, February or March.
Yeah.
Or
Set the stage of when quarantine hit.
Yeah. Like kind of draw the whole timeline and what that whole process of training was like for you. Cause I'm assuming a lot of people listening are going to have had almost no training exposure. Cause if you're not like a professional CrossFitter and COVID hits, like
maybe didn't have access to the gym.
Don't have a home gym. What's it like for somebody who's one of the best in the world to have your profession basically like taken away from you and figure it out on the fly?
Yeah, it was interesting, man. I feel like everything in the last 6 months has kind of been adapt as quickly as possible and make the most of what you've been given. For me, at least that's where I've tried to shift my perspective and kind of work within those parameters. So prior to quarantine, I had actually had a really good training environment at Peak 360, which is down in Miami, where I've trained literally since I started CrossFit almost 11 years ago. And we actually had a big group of people visiting from Brazil, Guillermo and a bunch of his friends and really high level athletes. So it had been this awesome training environment. And I remember as COVID started to become more of a topic, we were talking about the possibility of maybe, I don't know, certain restrictions at the gym, but hadn't yet considered it being shut down. And one of the last workouts that I had done was the list of Masters qualifier workouts from CrossFit. This was prior to them canceling the Masters competition. Guido, who's the owner of Peak 360 and a good friend of mine, I just jumped in to kind of help support him on those. And we finished up like the last 2 Masters workouts on March 16th. And then that evening, they announced that the gyms were going to be closed, and at least in Miami. And then I think slowly it started to make its way around the world and the country. But I would say a month or a couple weeks prior to that, a friend of mine offered me a rig to put at my house. And I had turned him down because I had access to Peak and the pandemic wasn't what it was. And I was like, no, man, I really appreciate it, but I'm okay.
And it's really close to your house too.
peak is around the corner. Yeah. So I just figured that I wouldn't need something like that. When I trained at home in the past, and this is something that I'll talk about shortly, but it was always on a rest day or an easy light day. So I would go outside, get on the assault bike, do something really light and simple. And that was the only piece of equipment that I had at the house at the time was an assault bike. So when everything changed, I called my friend back. I said, hey, does that offer still stand? I'll take that rig if it's available. And thank goodness it was.
Yeah, it would have been a problem if it wasn't, because I feel like everything was on back order. You might have been able to get something.
Well, we ended up, I mean, I guess it was still a while down the road, but Rogue sent us a big pallet of equipment, which was very helpful.
But that's May, right? Mm-hmm. Mid-May?
Yeah, March. So for the month of April, the end of March, and throughout most of April, I had the squat rack. I had gotten a barbell, Peak lent out a few pieces of equipment. And so same thing that I was talking about before, just like adapt to that circumstance. And training at home felt really weird. And I told you I would reference this, but I had to adjust my mindset from training at home being light, easy recovery to finding a way to go there, dig in and train hard and lift heavy. And honestly, the whole first month of doing that was a big adjustment and felt really weird and unnatural and awkward.
Not a perfectly level floor outside.
Yeah, so many different things. Like an uneven dumbbell that everybody keeps giving me flack for. But after a while, I started to get the hang of it. And now it's crazy. I almost feel like I prefer training at home over the gym. I'm sure once we start going back to the gym and the environment there becomes what it was before, I'll shift back to that. But yeah, that's a quick rundown. I know I just went long-winded on it, but basically adjusted as quickly as I could. After a while, started to get a feel for being able to train at home. And I don't think that I lost much fitness. If anything, maybe got a little bit more fit in these unideal circumstances.
Yeah, I'd say you definitely got more. I mean, I get to see your results. So I think that you've made some pretty measurable progress on good stuff. And I think relative to other people that I've seen, let's say like a sanctional level or above type athletes, your focus on training has been much more disciplined from start to finish. Like you've definitely had some times where you're like, not burnt out, but just where it feels like really hard to train when you don't know, because the games got moved back a bunch of times.
Right. That uncertainty is really hard to deal with.
That kind of threw you for a loop. But I'd say overall you dealt with that way more consistently than other people in terms of just making sure that you got your hard training in.
Yeah.
What do you think that's attributed to?
I don't know. As you were saying that, I was just thinking there was pretty much nothing else to do for us. We were locked down in Miami and my gym was outside of my front door. So I was like, well, guess I can go train. And so that was just like, that was all there was to do. And that was all that I did for the most part. Train
so we
and
just
recover.
needed the whole time for the last 4 years, we should have just removed all distractions from your life.
So prior to that, I was out there partying in Miami every weekend. That's not true, by the way.
Yeah. To so many other things to do.
Yeah.
So we did the quarantine classic thing as a competition.
I was actually going to give you guys credit for that because that was one thing that I feel like did kind of spark that competitiveness in me. When was that?
Do you remember the actual date of quarantine classic?
April?
End of April, I think.
Yeah. So that was
quarantine classic was we hosted basically a competition. We had 6 different tests. And each one of them were tied to one of the training paths of the design. And so there was a strength path or strength workout, an engine workout, and a CrossFit workout on each one of the days for 2 days. And it was like, we created little demo videos and basically just tried to create something that people could focus on competitively. And part of that too was even just like selfishly, personally, I was like, I need something to train for. I need motivation. I need people around to do things with. And so we did that.
Because at that point in time, it was like kind of dark.
Yeah,
like,
it was really,
because right now we all know it's like, okay. But at that point you still were like, is the world ending?
Yeah.
It was cool. It was something I think that was maybe what pushed me back over the edge of really being able to recognize, all right, I can go for a max power clean into, what was it, 5 or 7 shoulder to overhead. And I hadn't really gone for stuff like that and like go all out on a Metcon in my driveway. So that I think, was the catalyst for me being able to train at the level that I needed to for the next few months leading up to whatever was coming next. And that was the thing that we were just saying, the uncertainty. We didn't know if the games were going to get canceled. It seemed like they were trying really hard to still make something happen. They whittled the field down to 30 athletes. We were all going to go to California. Then California shut down twice. And so this final adaptation has been that there's going to be an online portion where they'll narrow the field down to 5 men and 5 women. And those athletes will go compete in the finals in California in the middle of October.
Yeah. And as you were doing this, I don't remember when it was, but we had a conversation at one point where you just wanted to make changes to the training structure. I don't remember if this was pre-COVID or post-COVID.
To kind of partaking in the design.
Yeah. And just like, and why'd that happen? Or do you remember?
Yeah. And not specifically, but now that we're reflecting on it, I think maybe because I lost my training partners and the ability to compare myself to people in the gym, it was nice to be on design and have the leaderboard to compare times to and weights and have a community that I had just lost from being able to train at peak.
Yeah. And there was a time where we were like, all right, we have to go back to individual training priorities. Mm-hmm. And then we did that for a couple of weeks. And then you wanted to go back to do I think more of.
Yeah. So I think that what we did, and I recognize that just following a group training program when you want to be the best in the world is maybe not quite enough.
Yeah.
And so I kind of referred to it as design plus to you. So it was the design, which is your group training program. And then the plus portion was whatever you thought that I needed to work on individually on top of that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we found a good balance, but as we trained for the Rogue Invitational, that was when I kind of shifted off the design more specifically to Rogue. And then once Rogue was over, that was when I had asked you to come back to the design. So I had that community and I feel like we found a pretty good balance of that, even leading up to the games now.
Yeah. So what, you have the individual coaching process, which we did for basically 3 years. Like,
and I feel like we still do. Like, I definitely still feel like you're my coach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like you're doing the group program and I'm not guiding it, but you have like the full, hey, I go through a full sport evaluation, all your needs, your whole schedule. I write up the whole thing, like start to finish, versus a group program is like, you just sign up for the design and you kind of navigate it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And then kind of where we are somewhere in the middle now, some hybrid version of it where we take that, I look at what's being programmed on those specific days, what your schedule is, add some other things, take out things, and kind of construct a week based on that. What has kind of been your headspace in reflecting on kind of the positives, benefits? Do you think you'll go back and forth into those 3 different ways of doing it as you move forward? Or you think us kind of being in this nice rhythm now is kind of where you foresee wanting to be for a while?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy what we have going. So please, if you don't mind, let's keep rolling with that. But I think it's nice to know that you're not alone in a time when you are actually alone. And so I was training by myself. And if it was just training that you were writing for me, and I'm like, I don't know if in my mind, nobody else is doing that. It's just me doing that by myself at home alone. But there's something about knowing that there's a group training program that however many other people are doing this workout kind of with me. Is comforting and exciting, and it just gives me something to look forward to. And the leaderboard is also helpful because there are some studs on there. And
for sure.
It's not like I jumped on design and was first place on everything every day. Like I would love for that to be the case, but it wasn't. So I think it's been great. And I think we've done a good job of balancing it. The next 2 weeks leading up to the CrossFit Games, maybe we just go specifically based on the equipment list that we have, the 2-day structure, and do our own thing. But moving forward, I think it's a cool idea, especially if we're still going to be in quarantine for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely been something that I've been reflecting on just as a coach and a person that, like in research and sports science, the ability to cope with pain or suffering is almost always better when you have a group of people to do it. And I don't know what the mechanism is that does that, but even something that's
I think it's
pi.
The number pi is the mechanism.
3.14.
Keep it going.
3.1415.
No, come on. You got this.
I think 3.1415.
Yeah,
I
not
think
sure.
7 maybe after
You're
that.
just going to add 2 digits and act like you did something?
How many did you know?
Nothing.
He didn't even know it was 3.14.
He was talking about apple pie.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I do love that.
yeah, I think the even in a remote structure, the suffering becomes lessened. Like I look at the leaderboard and I don't like look at the top of it when I'm looking for my own training results. I kind of know there's some people that I compete with in certain workouts, pick a time, go after it. And it, instead of focusing on, oh my God, this is going to hurt, or this is going to be a tough one, I can focus on like, okay, this is the output that I need to do it. This is the pace that I need to hold. And it's definitely put me in a different headspace with regards to training. Yeah. So it's a good balance. And I think a learning process as we continue to coach and work and hopefully ascend to the top. We've been pretty close. Top. Yeah, you've been pretty close. Yeah. But as that happens, I think I'll continue to try to figure out what the best blend of building community involvement and individual prioritization is.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier in the week that I think a high-level athlete can almost do anything, and if they do it really well and put a lot of their energy and focus into it, it can make them fitter. You know, I could probably jump on any program. I won't list the other options out there, and still maintain my fitness, if not improve it.
Yeah.
But that if we're talking about the tippity top going from second to first place, there has to be some sort of individualization where you're looking at things and just really helping dial in those fine points to take it from 2 to 1.
Yeah. And it's not too, I don't think it's just about fitness at that point. It's also about how you're doing each workout, what you're doing outside of the gym, how you're taking care of yourself, how you're approaching workouts on game day. We noticed that today a lot, or not today, but the last 3 days with your like movement speed going really fast, taking quick breaks as being a different way to approach things. There may be another way that could be just as successful for an elite athlete, but that's kind of you evolving and figuring out how to become the fastest version of Noah and how you pace workouts. And I don't know if everybody does that. So it's not just like the program you're following, it's also who the person is and how they approach it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. So
what do you want to talk about now?
Yeah. How about the games? What are you envisioning if you had to make predictions? And this is partially because you're going to predict and help me write your program.
Yeah, man, that's so hard to do. So hard because in the past we had the open to look at when you're going into another open, and you can reference like, oh yeah, it's usually this. It's relatively light, relatively low skill. If it gets heavy and high skill, it's kind of toward the end of the workout. Now, I don't think that whoever is programming it has to work within those parameters because they are dealing with 30 of the best men and 30 of the best women in the world. So they can kind of skip over those barriers to entry and just start right away with a 405 deadlift and ring muscle ups. Or I guess not, because they didn't put rings on the list. Right. So that makes it difficult to say what they may come up with for workouts. Rogue was maybe a good reference point because they had it very heavy and high skilled. Like if you look at some of the Rogue workouts, that would not fly for an open workout. Yeah. Because of how heavy they were.
Like the 275 deadlift.
Yeah, right away. You know,
overhead squat.
That would limit so many people, but dealing with who we're dealing with now, there are almost no limitations. So it'll be interesting. I think the only thing we can do is work with the equipment list. So we know that there aren't, for example, no rings. So we're not going to do ring muscle ups.
No ropes. We had rope climbs.
Yeah, exactly. And we had even, unfortunately, cut out running because we thought there had yet to be a way to test running in an online virtual competition. Yeah. They did figure out a way to do it now, more or less. So we're going to add that back in, and that's fine. I don't feel like we like neglected it.
I mean, it was like 2 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks.
But I'm just, for example, like there are things that we will not train for the next 2 weeks because it's unnecessary, and just focus on the stuff that we need to.
And there'll probably be things that we just get caught with our pants down on, like just workouts come out. We're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't predict that.
Hopefully we still have our underwear on at least.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe your fans, you said that earlier today.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have to go there.
Yeah. All right. I won't. All right. So no direct predictions. Why don't you write the first workout of the CrossFit Games right now?
Oh man. It's, actually, no kidding, why I don't really like to do that, and I never do it. People this year at the games were coming up with predictions and guesses, and there had been like a leak of what the first workout might be, and people were talking about it, and I was like, don't even come at me with that, because if I start to wrap my head around that and hope for it and prepare for it, and then it's something totally different, then I just wasted my time and energy, and there's going to be a shock value to, something God, it's not what I thought at all. Yeah. It's actually this. And so I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't mind. Like if you want to, I'll play along, but usually I don't like to predict things, because I like to just be able to adjust on the fly and not have my mind wrapped around something that we have no idea how to predict.
Yeah. So you feel generally prepared for everything then right now? Everything that could come out. I mean, obviously you're not like in swimming shape, but unless they put kiddie pools in the gym and make you do that.
That'd be awesome. Did you just say everything, by the way?
Maybe. I don't know. You'd have to, somebody has to say it in the comments.
Your little cheeks.
Thanks.
But yeah, and I think that especially after this weekend, I think you did a pretty good job of coming up with a well-rounded set of tests.
If I did a pretty good job, what would have been a really good job?
I think you did a really good job, my friend.
Thank you.
Where we touched on a little bit of everything. We had an endurance piece. We talked a couple weeks ago about the possibility of that. Like, hey, they could just have us do a marathon row. Yeah. And it'd be super boring to watch and kind of miserable to do, but if they did do it, this is a field of athletes they could do it with. And again, we don't want to be caught with our undies showing. So we did a 5K. For me, having done something within a short period of time gives me the confidence that I at least have an exposure to that. So if we hadn't done a 2 or a 5K row in the last few weeks, and that came up, and the most I have rowed in the last month was 500 meters, I'd feel a little bit of a sense of unpreparedness and panic. So for us to this weekend have tested something really short and fast with the 500 meter row, long and kind of enduring with the 5K, I feel good in that realm. We did some strength stuff. 3 rep max back squat was heavier than I expected it to be. Heavy deadlifts felt good.
Strict press heavy.
Heavy hang clean and jerks, heavy strict press. So we hit the heavy side of things.
Yeah. The one thing in retroactive analysis is maybe a super, super high rep workout, like a, 100 of something.
I mean, we did
do the 400, 150.
Right.
So I created some of that type of stuff where it's a bunch of reps of the same thing. More so that was logistically difficult. It's because there's only a barbell. There's no dumbbell, no other way to load it. I'm like, all right, am I going to do like, and we did do 75 overhead squats in that, or 80 overhead squats in the 8 rounder. So, all right, I take that back. We did do a high rep stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I just, all of that to say that I think we did a little bit of everything, enough that with the training that I've done in the last month and what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks, I don't think there is almost anything, knock on wood, that they could announce as a games event where I'm going to be like, oh God,
barbell Turkish.
I'm in trouble.
1 rep max.
I think I'd do okay with that. Actually, I don't know. Yeah. Just random, but I'm feeling good.
Cool.
I should.
And your top, that's from the song that
it is.
Oh, it is.
Surfaces. I can't even think of the next line right now. I'm embarrassed.
You don't need to. They don't know. Most people probably
went
don't
and
know.
took a walk around the neighborhood, feeling blessed. Never.
I don't know.
Come on. What rhymes with blessed and never
dressed? Never dressed.
No, sir.
Feeling blessed, never dressed.
That actually maybe make you feel blessed, but it's stressed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So goals for the games right now. Well, goals for the games.
Yeah, it's interesting. You obviously always want to win everything.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a qualifier situation where, do you want to go all out on this first portion and win it and then maybe be a little burnt for the actual in-person finale? Or do you want to just secure top 5 and then give it everything you've got there? I think that's more of what I'm leaning toward. Definitely, like, really passionately, strongly want to lock in one of those top 5 spots. Yeah. Obviously, this season is very, very different. Maybe some people are just already overlooking it. But I think for me to look back on this year and say, hey, I had the opportunity to be one of 5 athletes, the only time this is ever going to happen, will be a really special memory for me. So
it'll be a cool story. We did on an earlier podcast. You have a question?
No.
Okay. We did on an earlier podcast. We were talking about
Well, I did.
On an earlier podcast, we were talking about whether or not there would be an asterisk at this CrossFit Games. And I personally didn't think
it's okay even if there is. An asterisk doesn't discredit it. It just means it's different in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, Deb had a good point the other day. She was saying that in a way that this one might actually be, if you're testing for fitness, you know, the fact that you had to endure, like this one almost takes in your mental health with it.
Yeah.
Because you had to deal with all this.
That's a good point.
I mean, I know people are out there dealing with way worse.
Yeah.
So let's tone it back a little bit, but all the stress of, you know, not knowing what to expect. So who could power through all that to even make it to here?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, yeah. Oh yeah. I like that. Your pump session going on. Yeah. I don't want to be calm.
Okay. Go.
I don't remember now. I got distracted by the size
asterisk.
of your, yeah.
And like you were saying though, it's going to be super cool because it's going to be 5 people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that all eyes will be on that 5.
Definitely.
To me, that sounds way better than all the other games ever. Cause I feel like I only want to see the top mofos.
There's a much better chance that the freaking camera people will not highlight just one person.
Who knows?
And the world is hungry to watch stuff. So, you know, everybody in the community is going to watch this year's games for sure.
Would you say that the world is happy but hungry?
I don't know. The way the world's
hungry.
looking right now. Yeah. Just
hungry.
Just hungry.
Sad and hungry. I'm hoping we can make them happier with a display of fitness.
Yeah,
but
I
don't
think
know.
so. I mean, I know the sports, like I know golf has been in the media for a while and their ratings are way up. And I think just people having something to do and a narrative and people to tie to that are still purposeful and competing is a good thing and relatable, right? Because like most people don't play golf.
Oh my gosh. You know who I feel bad for is, you know, we have our friend Jeff, who's the pit crew for NASCAR. Yeah. NASCAR was one of the first sports to come back. And I feel so terrible for him because the first 4 races back before anyone else was doing anything, they all got rain delayed or rained out. So it's like all eyes are on you.
The excitement.
And we need, you know, people in Vegas with odds and stuff like all eyes are on you to watch something. We just want to be entertained in rain delays.
That reminds me of a false start in a competition. I'll never forget. There was one regionals where our team, Peak 360 had a team and we were watching them and everybody lined up and, you know, the adrenaline right before the clock starts, everybody's like huffing and puffing and like tipping over the line, ready to go. And I don't remember what exactly happened, but there were like 2 or 3 little delays where the adrenaline like spike and dump happened a few times. And anyway, that's kind of what that sounds like.
All right.
But
so you got a list of questions?
Yes.
Is there
I do.
anything else that we need to cover?
I was thinking of one thing.
Yeah.
It might be boring, might be cool. Noah, you did a lot of when
might be boring, might be cool. I don't know. He's right there. Just thought of him.
Dang.
Sorry. What's up, Chris?
Shade on
Not boring, all cool. I love you, Will.
I was gonna say you did a lot of live streaming during quarantine. How was that?
I did. Yeah. I think that is kind of tied into what I was saying earlier. When I was alone, I wanted to find ways to not be alone. So I was training by myself at home and I knew that most other people were too. And so I thought, hey, what can I do for our community? And my solution was to try to help provide people with a little bit of motivation, maybe ideas for workouts that you could do with just body weight. And so it started off toward the beginning of the pandemic, 3 times a week, I was going live and doing an equipment-free workout from home. Kind of whittled it down to like once a week and started adding guests, which made it even more fun for me because I got to interact with a friend like Chandler or Brooke and Will. And that was just cool. And be able to talk to people in the comments, know that people were doing that workout at the same time that I was. So that was the reason that I did that. Still kind of am. I think it gives me the opportunity to collaborate with a bunch of different people too. I have reached out to Paul Rabel, he's the founder and a player in the PLL. He said he would do a workout with me. That's a lacrosse league. Cool. A lacrosse athlete and a CrossFit athlete. There's another guy, Devin, who is like a fitness influencer. He's going to bear crawl a marathon. I was telling you the other day, which sounds crazy, but he and I are going to do a live workout together. So
just don't bear crawl a marathon.
No, I don't. Maybe after the games, but maybe never. Also.
I hope so.
All right. So we did get some questions from Instagram. You want
what y'all got, IG?
Yeah.
All right. So Jordan Dorman.
Don't hit me, please. Hey, I know JD.
That's Brandon's wife. In a perfect world, how much longer do you want to compete?
I have the perfect answer. In a perfect world, I would be able to compete at the CrossFit Games for at least 10 years. It's kind of an arbitrary goal that I set for myself relatively recently. This is going to be my 7th CrossFit Games. And I thought, hey, it'd be pretty cool to compete for a decade consecutively. So that would mean...
You're going to be a 4-time champ.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was going to say. No, that would be great. No matter what place I finish in, that would mean that I compete all the way through the 21 would be 8, 22 would be 9, and the year 2023, I will be 32 years old, and that would be my 10th CrossFit Games. Don't know where I go from there. Maybe I still got it and can keep competing individually. Maybe I do teams. Maybe I don't want to do CrossFit anymore, but I would like to make it through at least 10 consecutive CrossFit Games.
That's a good answer.
Yes, sir. All right. So Andrew Young, 7. What's the difference between working out with Trevor / Games athletes versus by yourself?
I think it's just more fun is the first thing that comes to mind. The first 2 things that came to mind almost simultaneously were fun and intensity, which is almost ironic because those are 2 complete opposites. But the intensity of being able to compete with somebody, like I want to win, even if Travis is a friend of mine all weekend, I wanted to win each workout for my own confidence in my training. But it was also so much more fun to finish a workout and be able to give him a high five and have somebody there that I know is going through the same thing that I'm going through. Maybe be able to learn from him as well by watching him go first. So
yeah, one of the things that I see, I mean, these questions are not to me, so I don't know if I should answer them. But when I observe, if you were up here, like when you came up here and you actually lived here and you had some of your own training sessions, or Trav does his own training sessions, you guys are like in control of your own environment, your exact start times, when you want to go. You get to like almost have a little bit more like relaxation, even though you're still training hard. It's kind of like, all right, well, if I'm in between sets, I can go over and check my phone. Whereas it just seems more like focused. And I don't know if that's just because the environments now, when you come up, are constructed to be like, all right, here's the start time, here the finish time. So I'd say they're also a little bit more structured in terms of like the usage of time in training.
That is nice. Whoa, excuse me. I don't know what just happened. A little air bubble snuck its way out. Just kidding. But yeah, no, sometimes I feel like I can like lollygag through a day of training and waste so much time doing nothing. Whereas when we're up here, we're sometimes done by like 2 p.m. And I'm how the heck did that happen? At home, I'm not done till 6 p.m.
Or later.
No.
Not
usually.
All righty. Adam S. Bass, our homie, wants to know.
I played golf with Adam Bass.
Did he beat you?
No.
Oh.
Are you sure it's not Adam Ass?
I'm sure.
Okay.
What is the best advice that Max has ever given you?
Whoa.
That's
goodness gracious. Yeah, I don't even know.
Have you ever given
that
you
just
advice?
gave me like the cold sweats. Oof. I'm going to go roundabout in answering this because I don't know that there was ever one line.
Honorary mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that there's like one thing that he said that rocked my world and changed my life, although it's possible.
Doubt it. There definitely was.
Definitely. I would say that more than anything, it's been the accountability in getting me to really push it to become the best version of myself. I think I worked with other people before that wanted me to be the best, but also kind of just celebrated where I was at. And not that you don't do that. I know we've celebrated our successes together, but there's always been a point in time where you don't let me get content. You know, if I want to take it easy on something, you actually allow it. You'll be like, all right, sure, you can take that session off, but is that going to help you win that event next time it comes up in a competition? And I'm like, dang it, I got to do it. So
shit, just shitty. I ask shitty questions.
Yeah, in the best way though, because it's not like you're forcing me to do it. You're still leaving the decision in my hands, but you're making me think about it in a way that ultimately comes down to, do you want to be the best athlete in the world? And since we started working together, the answer for both of us has been yes.
Yeah.
So thanks, man.
Yeah, I like that.
Alrighty. King Moretti, how do you find ways to stay happy / positive?
Did you say king? King, K-I-N-G.
K-I-N-G. Yeah.
What do you think they're the king of?
Yeah. I don't know, but bow down first.
Yeah. I forgot the question.
Oh, yes, Mr. King Morita. Yeah.
Do you remember the question?
Yes.
Okay. What was the question?
How do you find ways to stay happy but hungry
Oh.
in training? He didn't say but hungry. Is that correct?
/positive.
/positive. I think for me, prior to the world catching on fire about 6 months ago, it was kind of easy. I realized one day, I don't know if it was a day or a period of time, but we're kind of in control of our own happiness. And I would rather live a life that was positive and enjoyable by making the decision to do so than to just kind of wallow through life being bummed out that I don't have certain things or haven't accomplished certain things. So I think for me before it was, hey, I wake up, I love what I'm doing. My world is pretty awesome. My family is happy and healthy. I've got the people around me that I really enjoy and love and care about. And so that was an easy choice to make. Like, I'm going to be happy today. I'm going to make it a great day.
Yeah.
Lately, I will say that it's not quite as easy to wake up in the morning and make that decision, because as I start to think through it, I'm like, the world is not as awesome and positive as it was before. And for a little while, it almost felt ignorant and disrespectful to be happy in the face of some of the stuff that was going on, some injustice and some sickness and just all of those things that have unfolded. And so it's made it a little bit more difficult. I've been a little bit more bummed out than usual, but not in total. It's just kind of a day-to-day up and down for me. I would say for the most part, though, I just try to remind myself, like a perspective shift always helps me stay more positive. No matter what I'm going through that's kind of upsetting, I can shift my perspective and realize that it could be worse. I still do have all these awesome things in my life. I am a freaking professional athlete. I'm engaged to the girl that I love. I've got this awesome dog. I've got an awesome coach, an awesome media guy. You know, it's just, there are so many positives that usually I can use them to outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I'm not answering this question for him, but one of the things that I think I learned from being associated with him, and I think that process is always true. Like, you think of a coach as like coach teaching an athlete, but I think of it more as a coach is teaching an athlete some things, but the athlete is teaching the coach other things. And Noah specifically, I think, is just consciously always cultivating positivity. You did your gratitude journal thing for a really long time when things go bad, or if an environment, even like we've hosted camps where I've like beat the shit out of people and they've gotten really hard and people will start complaining and start to get down. It's like, there's something intuitively either in you or something that you consciously do to try to change that environmental tone and bring people up. And I've found for myself, that's been a useful tool, because I'm like, oh, I can choose to focus on this hard shit, like, man, I'm sore, or this is going to hurt, or I can think about the positive side. And I attribute a lot of that in myself to observing you do it for years.
That's
so
cool.
Right back at you,
Boom.
brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Quads like Sully. Do you have any superstitions before a competition?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything in particular that I do in order to ensure that I'm going to, I have more habits and rituals, maybe just things that
processes.
Yeah. That usually have worked in the past that I try to recreate. I don't know what made me think of this, and it's not really answering the question, but I feel like it's worth saying. Almost no matter what, the night before any competition, literally even this Sunday night before we started our Monday training camp, I have a terrible, highly anxious, heart rate elevated night of sleep. And I haven't yet found a way around it. There are times when I'm very conscious of what's going on, and I tell myself, hey, calm down. Yeah. There's no pressure. You're just working out. It's going to be okay. You feel confident about the workouts, but my body is just like anticipating what's coming, and I don't sleep well. But as soon as the first day of whatever it is over, I sleep awesome.
Yeah. We, at first, I remember you telling me about that, and I remember pulling up a quote from one of my books and sending it to you, talking about the way that you
haste makes waste, right?
What?
I'm just kidding. Made up
I was like, man,
quote.
you remember this?
Yeah,
no, where it was talking about that it's okay for that to be for that to happen, for you not to sleep. It's more of the judgment that you have about those anxiety feelings. And I don't know if that was contributing to you being okay, but I remember you used to like almost think of it as a bad thing. There was one regional specifically where we went into workout one, and beforehand you were like, I didn't get a night of sleep. You ended up doing really well on the workout anyway.
Or a wink.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said a night.
Oh, a night. I didn't get a wink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
That just popped into my head.
For
Maybe
sure.
I could find that quote.
Maybe.
Next question.
I think the book was One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
Fuck you both.
Is that by Dr. Bruce? All right. Come on, man. Give me some mo.
Let's see here. Joanne.
Please.
Joanne.
Please say that again.
It's Joanne.
I'm going to start calling Joanne that now.
Joanne.
Hey, Joanne.
In which kind of workouts does he see himself beating Frazier?
Oh,
Mary.
all of them.
So what kind of workout?
All of them. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Good.
I mean, I'm probably just going to get so much crap for that. Oh my God, no, it's so cocky. He said he could beat Matt Frazier and everything. That's a tough question to answer. I obviously respect the heck out of Matt. He's an incredible athlete. And there are not many workouts that I have beat him in over the years, but there are a few. And I am just doing my best to try to get him on a couple more.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, he's on the Chipotle.
That's true. That is true.
I've heard speculation about that. I hope they test him for Chipotle this year.
Is it the new, by the way, the new queso is actually good.
I was one of the few people who didn't hate the old queso.
Really?
I mean, I wasn't in love with
like
it, but I didn't hate it like everyone else does.
I haven't had Chipotle in years. I had food poisoning from, I think, one time that just rocked my world. And I said, no more.
That affected me, and I stopped going for a while. And then I was like, screw Noah. I'm going to go back because I like this.
I always liked Qdoba way better, though.
Quick side note, Joanne told me last night when we were FaceTiming before going to bed that she was going to go to Chipotle today. And I said, are you sure you want to do that? And she said, dang it, I knew I shouldn't have told you. Should have just waited until after to tell you. Now I don't know if I want to anymore, but I don't know if she did actually.
So think about that. You're a happy, positive influence, but you ruin people's ability to enjoy their food.
Well, in the trade-off of her maintaining her health.
Saving E. coli, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, two more.
Dos más.
What are your favorite activities outside of CrossFit from
None.
Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan.
The guy.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's underscore.
What you
Hulk
gonna
Hogan.
do, brother? ¿Qué vas a hacer, hermano? I remember when the show that the Hogans were on, they moved to Miami, and that they took Spanish lessons, and that was the one thing he had the teacher teach him was how to say "What you gonna do, brother?" in Spanish. It's "¿Qué vas a hacer, hermano?"
Do it with the
Yeah. All right. What's the question Hulk Hogan had for me?
What are your favorite activities outside of CrossFit?
Yes.
You're kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Growing man buns.
Yeah.
Making
growing
Instagram
man buns,
videos.
Baking cookies.
Go pre-COVID times.
Yeah. I enjoy hanging out with my friends by a body of water, whether it's the pool or the ocean. Those are the most typical down in Miami. We're not lake folk. Spike ball is pretty fun. Haven't played that in a while though. Eating a good meal is always enjoyable. I know these are very basic things that most other humans do, but those are the things that I usually do when I'm not training.
Are a pretty big movie guy too.
I do.
Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I
watched a
do
good one
really
last
like
night.
watching movies. We watched 42, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. That was a really great movie though. Very moving. I'd recommend people to watch it if they haven't yet. Yeah, that about does it.
And the last question is from...
Come on, man. Stay close to the mic. What the hell's wrong with you?
Drum roll.
I had to pick my phone up. From Taylor. No. T_Taylor39 wants to know, what we doing with the hair, mate?
Hey, that's a good question, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure. And I'm going to put this out here. We'll see what response we get. And maybe that will help me dictate my next decision.
You're fucked.
Dang it. So I'm going to go into some pretty
Go ahead. You
big
do it,
detail
man.
on
Go
this.
ahead.
A friend of mine named Alan down in Miami one day at peak, almost a year and a half ago, said very directly, "Hey, what are you doing with your hair? I feel like it's time to do something new." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that really got in my head. And
Alan really has some power over your appearance.
He does. He's a special guy.
All right.
And so I thought about it. And that shortly after, I saw a picture of James Newberry, who has these very cool blonde dreadlocks. And I thought, ooh, I've kind of always wanted to do dreadlocks. I don't remember why. I saw somebody back in the day who was just a big dude with dreadlocks, and it was such a cool look to me. And I always thought that'd be cool to do. James inspired me to want to go for that. So I have been growing the top of my head for a while. Originally it was going to be, originally it was going to be all of it, but for a long time I had a haircut that was like pretty close on the sides and longer on the top. And so the sides were just not catching up, and it was really annoying. And there was this weird like sweep across my forehead that would fall down. And anyway, I decided to get rid of that. I think it looks a little cleaner, but the end goal is dreadlocks. Currently it's the man bun.
Are you putting up with the man bun, or you actually like this?
No, I don't really love this. I know it's not my favorite look in the world. It's not the worst either. There's sometimes when I think it looks cool, when I feel every now and then when I can twist it up and I kind of look like a samurai, I like that.
You don't look like a samurai.
I look like a girl.
A sword.
Okay. I can get a sword.
All right.
Anyway, the man bun is kind of a means to an end, and the end is or was dreadlocks. With everything going on in the world culturally, Joanne actually brought up to me, do you think that it is okay for you to get dreadlocks? It may be seen as cultural appropriation by many communities, right? I think first of, and I don't want to upset or offend anybody, but I think of like Rastafarian culture with dreadlocks. And that obviously is not my intention. I'm not working my way toward growing my hair for a year and a half to offend or poke fun at anybody. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I think it looks really cool and hopefully would almost be a compliment, but I could see how people feel like that's part of their culture, and I don't want to upset anybody. I know that you, yeah.
So you don't want to upset the Rastafari, but the samurai, go fuck yourself.
Come on. Yeah, Chandler was calling me out the other day. Chandler gave me the pass, which I don't know if
it's
one black friend doesn't mean that it's okay.
He don't even have dreads.
Yeah, he could look pretty cool with dreads someday, but he's in the army. So anyway, long story short.
So you're still unsure. Maybe in the comments, people can comment.
Yeah, give me a little bit of insight there. Yeah. Is it okay if I do dreadlocks, or is it not a good idea? I think it would look cool. I hope I can do it. If enough people would be offended by it, I will not do it.
All right, there you go. The ultimate conclusion to world's second fittest man podcast, talking about his hair.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
How do we have to wrap this up?
That's it. Unless you want to plug anything, follow Noah at _Ohlsen.
There's no underscore. Don't follow me.
It's actually at Ohlsen.
You can follow me if you want to.
He has a YouTube channel and puts up a lot of workouts. Follow that.
Bye.